Hi, welcome back. Back in Kerbal Space Program again with the Realism Overhaul mods. I don't know whether you remember from last time, but I was basically just trying to design stuff and progress a bit with the contracts, get some science, and well, basically just try and progress a little bit off camera so that it wasn't the same stuff over and over and over again when I was actually recording. So the good news is I've finally designed something that actually makes it to an orbit. Not a stable one, and its delta V runs out literally as it hits orbit. But it does work. It's off the back of a sounding rocket. So basically I've got to try and figure out, thought I'd do it with you guys, what the payload capability is of the rocket. It's going to be very, very small and insignificant. As you can see, this is only typical. Would be heading on to night time, wouldn't it? Ooh, science while I'm here. May as well transmit that while I'm going. There you go, now you can see it a bit better from this angle. So it's effectively what is left of a reaction. Actually, I can turn that off now. Disabled. So yeah, so if I might as well leave it enabled. I don't think it does any power requirements. No, not really. But yeah, so anyway, there's and the sun's just gone behind the surface of the planet, hasn't it? Right. There we go. Right. So this is the little probe that's left. That's basically all it is, a little probe. Just got to explore a probe core on it, and you can just see, clip through the ship. That's not the best idea. There's just a few experiments tucked down here at the base of the probe core. That is it. I used the nitrous oxide just to pick the periaps. It was at 141, which is 1 kilometer outside the atmosphere. So we'll get in there. So what I'm going to try and do is come up with something that will actually be useful. So if I can get something like this with maybe a final stage, then we'll be able to actually get something, and hopefully if I can get a small, tiny satellite in a polar orbit, I can begin to map the surface of the planet. But yeah, so this is Earth at the moment. We are well. I'm nowhere near capable of trying to replicate the lunar landings yet. I did, however, by completing the orbit, get enough science. So I now have enough science. I unlocked another node. I was gonna go initially with flight controls, because I thought maybe my final stage could be using the LR101 engines here. And it gave us there's a large pressurized tank in here, which I thought maybe we could fill with the fuel for that final stage. However, if you ignore the life support stuff, the oxygen, hydrogen, food bag, that's all life support. Experiments. So in here we've got the probe camera, the mini goo radiometer, the Science Junior as a universal storage module, or you can just use the normal one. There's larger solar panels. There's an altimeter for low resolution scanning of surface planets. Bigger antennas for more distance. So the plan is now we've got the ability to start scanning planets and gathering science around them and stuff like that. I'm going to try and design a probe that I can swap out and change the payload of this rocket I've got. It started off as just a sounding rocket, and slowly I've managed to progress it into this. So this bit at the top is the bit you've just seen in space, obviously, is just the probe core, a few solar panels and some thrusters. You've then got the main stage, which is this main white cylinder sat on top of the NAA 75, and then I've just put two solid rocket boosters on the side just to bump it through the first part. They only burn for 10-11 seconds, and just to bump it through the last part of the atmosphere. First part of the atmosphere. So if we can do that and find a decent, or maybe an upper stage that's got a better ISP than this XLR81. So in the XLR81 is just one of the early engines I have access to, an early vacuum engine. Where is it? There's not been able to find it now. There it is, XLR81. That's right, it's the Agena vacuum engine. So, I don't know, there may be... oops, didn't mean to do that. There may be other configurations. I lack the tech to be able to boost the configurations at the moment. So, the only configuration I've got is this BA5. Yeah, so it's not great. I mean, a simple configuration upwards to the BA7 would allow me to get a greater ISP in a vacuum, an extra ignition. Yeah, the ISP just keeps going up and up and up with this one, and you get huge numbers of ignitions. That's the biggest issue I've got at the moment with this one, is that it only has one ignition. So trying to get a relatively circularized orbit with something that you can only trigger once is not particularly great. So, but yes, I'll take the new bits that we've got. So there's new science experiments and everything available. I'll try and squeeze everything into some kind of small payload. I mean, realistically, if we delete the fairing and assume that I need that entire stage there, total mass at the moment is 65 tons. And if I remove... That's going to be hard because part of that top is the... Okay, so what we'll do... Go sub-assemblies. And do this. Low Earth orbit. First. Launcher. Right, so... Yeah, you see that's only a fifth of a ton. It's 200 kilos. So we need to try and find something with a similar payload weight, but obviously completely redesign it. So I will see what I can come up with, and then I shall get back to you when I think I've got something that will work. Okay, so I've come up with something. I think it'll give us quite a bit of science. Certainly new stuff anyway. I've managed to get it close. It is slightly heavier. There's not, unfortunately, a lot I can do about that. Yeah. Let's call it a low altimeter probe. Just to make sure I don't lose it. By itself, it's useless anyhow. It needs payload to get it, payload launcher to get it into anywhere. It'll fall over on the launch pad. So I've managed to get this put together. Okay, so if everything extends, what should happen is basically we will be able to get probe data. We'll get mini-goo radiometer. We'll get the then we're going to start mapping the surface. Now, initially, obviously, there's no way with the basic technology I've got that my sounding rocket, or what used to be my sound, or started off as a sounding rocket, is going to have the ability to get this thing into any kind of controlled orbit as such. So basically, what's probably going to happen is I'll try and incline it with the top delta V as much as I possibly can. The extra weight has hurt our delta V a bit anyhow, so I might have to tweak the sounding rocket. I'm not sure yet. Maybe just an extra couple of seconds burn on the solid rocket boosters at the start might give us enough. So yeah, so I'm not sure about that. I've still got to tweak the whole thing as a whole. But I mean, the plan is to get it in some kind of ever so slightly inclined orbit from the launch site. So at the very least, I'm mapping the terrain, even if it's low resolution. I'm going to be mapping the terrain around our launch site and immediate area, which means I don't know whether anyone spotted it, but I've put a. Let me just save this. I've put a few more mods on since last time I recorded. So I now have stage recovery. That's in place, which means it actually makes a better job of tracking the discarded stages rather than letting them phase out of existence after 2.5 kilometers. It makes the game keep track of them. I haven't got any pop-ups about it at the moment, but basically at the moment, every time I launch, it keeps prompting me and letting me know how much money I've lost and what I would have got if I'd have saved that stage, etc. So the plan is to start recovering as much of these stages as possible. It just makes more sense to do so. So I will get this fine-tuned and wrapped up, ready to go, get it on the launch pad, and then come back to you. But it shouldn't need a lot of tweaking. It's just there's a couple of bits I want to do just to fine-tune it. It's got everything retracted anyway again. But yeah, that's effectively it. So it will. I think this looks quite cool. It's going to effectively just fly around low Earth orbit until, well, it probably won't run out of battery power, to be fair. I mean, I could save a lot of weight if I got rid of the solar panels and just let it run out of charge. But I'm not sure how 8,000 charge would last. I mean, it may not last very long when I've got multiple experiments being transmitted and I'm constantly scanning the surface. Actually, I need to check. I'm not sure on Real Solar System whether or not this has been modified. Oh, it has. Oh, good. So ScanSat has actually been given new values, because I'm sure that's not the same as the base game. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not the same as the base game. So actually, if I can get some kind of, even if I get even close to a circularized orbit, I really want to get around 250 kilometers. About 100 kilometers out the atmosphere. I might be able to do that, actually. Because the trial run that I've showed you in the tracking station, that's on a massively elliptical orbit of like 800 kilometers and then 170. So if I'm a bit more controlled at burn time, I might be able to get this into a decent orbit and then use whatever thrust I've got left to incline it and try and gain as much out of it as possible. Get as much coverage as possible. So what I am going to do though as well first is I'm going to upgrade. I've been doing loads of these stupid sounding rocket contracts basically just to try and keep getting some steady income while I've been launching, because as I say, I'm losing most of my stages at the moment because I haven't got the parachutes required. So I don't need the runway yet. I have built a plane. I've designed a plane in the space hangar, but not going to be launching it yet. So that's already a level 2, but the tracking station is required. Makes invisible map, not bothered about that. Flight planning is available now. think that's all we needed for... Yeah, I think that's all we needed. Yeah, this is the final upgrades to that are astronauts upgrade for off-world EVA surface samples. No, I don't need them yet. I'm still nowhere near. I think this is the final layer. Yeah, so I don't even need it yet. There's no technology I can even access that's above 100, even if I had the science available. Although now I'm a bit stuck as to what to go for next. Survivability would allow stage recovery to start coming into play very nicely. As well as getting all the cool Mercury shuttle stuff. But sadly, I don't have the rocketry to do it. Whereas, if I go for advanced rocketry, I can actually start getting the Atlas and Mercury launch stages. Maybe. And the Tordial tank would make satellites easier to design. So I'm not sure where I'll go next when we start getting more science, but I think for now let's focus on getting this thing into space first. So I shall, I'll fine tune it, get it packaged up, get it on the launch pad, and I shall be back in a second. Okay, welcome back. It's here, we're on the launch pad. I've made some changes. Not to the probe design stayed as always. I have changed the engine configuration of that scanning satellite though. It's now running on hydrazine instead, which I don't know whether you remember, I was getting 520 meters a second delta V out of that top probe. By swapping to the hydrazine engine, I've managed to push that up to 634 meters a second. I also changed the configuration of the bottom engine. This is was reconfigured now, so it's the I think it was the A7 instead of the A6 configuration. Basically, there's not a massive difference. It swaps the fuel types, so we're now not burning liquid oxygen and ethanol anymore in this bottom stage. We're burning liquid ethanol and hydine. So we'll see how it fares up. But basically, the only thing the difference is that it has a very slight increase to the ISP values, and an ever so slight increase to the thrust to weight ratio, the thrust in kilonewtons. So the thrust was slightly higher. So what we'll do is we've got launch control, which I found hilarious. It's one of these pointless mods that I just love. It doesn't actually release it from the launch pad, you still have to trigger the release yourself. You can set it to the Apollo one if you want as well. Make sure the thrust gets up to max. 2 seconds. 1. That doesn't look good. Pressure fed fade. Oh, I forgot to change the... Oh, that's an unfortunate waste of money. That's why I see I missed that completely. Pressure fed... Wait a minute. No, that should... That's my fault. I forgot to move the throttle. Luckily, we're on pumps at the moment. So, make sure the engine's thrust up to max. 369, 370, yep, and release. I'm not going to bother doing these early on in the flight. Going to do them much later. Basically, the solid rocket boosters are just a punch through the thickest part of the atmosphere. Okay, that's a large amount of heating. Ah, and there's the problem with stage recovery. I thought I was going to get away with that, and unfortunately I don't think I can. Basically, I put parachutes on the... oh, no, there we go. Get to a... and... release. Please don't break. Hopefully, I'll find out, because stage recovery will tell me. But I will find out whether or not that has worked. Okay, we have a 200 apoapsis already, so I'm going to bring the pitch down to 5 degrees. -1 degrees. We're still not out of the atmosphere yet. It's 100. I found it. I've got the stats now. 140. So what I'm going to do is turn off the assisted, put on manual, get into a good orientation. Just need to stop it climbing too high. Remember, I was aiming for about 250. Operating. Get the solar panels out. Let's go to orbital prograde. Actually, do you know what I might do is I might force it to burn 100% horizontal. I should be able to, yes, remote crew report. Transmit that. More science. Right, we're getting close to the... I've only got a minute left now. Inoperable after transmitting. Reset. I don't want to do that. Not in a suborbital hop. Go down to 1 minute before burn time. I think I'm going to burn. I'm not going to burn early at all because I don't mind if I lose a bit of apoapse height. Close. So I'm just gonna trigger exactly on apoapsis. I don't want to lose too much apoapse height, but what tends to happen is that if I'm not quick enough on the button, I tend to slingshot myself around into some stupid orbit. Hence the reason the existing orbit is just some ridiculous 800 kilometers or something. It's not even within control range. So 20 seconds. Why is the Geiger counter still on here? It's built into the probe. 14 seconds. Good amount of delta V in this stage. We might need most, if not all of it, though, so I'm going to have to be careful trying to watch this. Right, let's trigger the engines. Got it. to get it into orbit. Or maybe because I was trying to control my apoapsis too well, I actually ended up wasting some fuel, basically controlling an orbit. When actually, really, I probably shouldn't have been trying to control the orbit to that extent. Completely lost control of this now. Just wasting Delta V. So I think it's safe to say that this won't make it into orbit. Which is a shame, it was expensive. The good news is we get to watch it burn up in the atmosphere, which is kind of cool. The good news is we're not losing electric charge, so this thing is stable, so the probe itself is stable. So this is going to... Alright, may as well transmit this. Yeah, it doesn't matter that it's inoperable. We're not going to survive re-entry. Nope, that's it. Yeah, look, it's perfectly stable now. It's the, excuse me, torque induced by the thrust. So I need to... the values have gone now, obviously, because it's no longer under thrust, but... Well, let's start this before we hit the atmosphere. Oh, I doubt we'll get anything useful. It's quite a wide resolution band, is that? Open up the big map. So we have a tiny little square that's been revealed. Yay! So we ended up on a... So I'm sorry, we ended up on a suborbital trajectory. And very shortly we're about to smash into the atmosphere at nearly 8,000 meters a second. Which is not going to be pleasant for anyone. But at least in the meantime, we've managed to scan a very, very small band of what looks to be like literally just water. But from a craft point of view, we've actually proved the probe's capabilities. Yeah, I can't do another mystery go observation, unfortunately. This thing is doomed. We've just hit the atmosphere, so very shortly things are going to start getting ripped off very violently. I might just disable all control. Oh, it's no connection at the moment either, which is another... Must be in a dead spot on the planet. Yes. Big open expanse of ocean. Ah, that's awkward. Yeah, no connection to send command on. So, that was a failure. The 20,000... Oh! Did... Stage destroyed. Okay, that's the core stage, that's the center part. I know that I have no way of recovering that yet, that's fine. So there we go. So this is the thing. This is the good thing about stage recovery. It actually has explained to me. So those solid state rocket boosters I tried to recover, failed to recover basically, because I armed the parachutes when I deployed them. However, they basically punched through the atmosphere at 3,500 meters a second and destroyed themselves. What's this? Some debris. Yeah, that's for. Yeah, that was the other solid rocket motor. Oh no! Hang on a minute then. Okay, yeah, so that was destroyed. Actually, it landed at 12.05 meters a second, and the survival was set to. It needs to be less than 12 for it to count as a landing, apparently. Oh, here we go. There goes the solar panels. Oh, now we're no longer recharging. Some of this. No, no, there goes the probe. Probe is beginning to get very hot. Oh, oof. That was quick. Oh, oh, oh. Yep, there we go. That's all she wrote. That was unfortunate. Right, well, I will have to try and find some. Well, I don't know. To be honest with you, I'll have to try and find some way of editing this to maybe try and give it a bit more control once it's up there, or I honestly don't know. I shall. I'll have to see. Right. Well, thanks for watching. I shall try and fix these changes for next time. Get it into a more reusable state, or at least a working state. I definitely think it has. There's no doubt, and it has enough. You burn a chunk of Delta V to get up there, but I'm sure by the time we get up there, the Delta V remaining is enough for the payload weight. So I think it was just a bad flight path by me. I wasted too much Delta V trying to stay at a very specific orbit, and it just didn't work. Maybe next time. Maybe not change anything and just launch it, maybe in a better profile. But I shall catch you all next time. Thanks for watching.